If there's been one video that I've been dying to make more than anything else, it would have to be this one. We were lucky enough to get 3 solid retro handheld consoles in the second half of 2019, and even though any of these would be a solid buy, I still get people asking for a bigger comparison video on all of them. Hello everyone, my name is Taki, and today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the RG350, PlayGo, and GKD350H to try and answer which is the best console for your needs. Let's kick off the first section of this video focusing specifically on build quality and I/O. The RG350 really took the scene by storm after my initial coverage of the unit, and I think my judgments about it were pretty spot on, even though I had no idea what the PG and 350H would hold. It came with all of the input buttons that you would need for the systems that are supported on these platforms, and it included some extra things like a second USB-C port. The 350H hit the scene a little later due to some manufacturing issues, but it went in a different direction. The device ditches the second analog stick from the RG350 and the second set of shoulder buttons, but it came with a much faster processor and a much better IPS panel. The handheld itself is super minimalistic, which is something that I love about it, and it's really comfortable for longer gaming sessions. Chronologically speaking, the PlayGo actually hit the retail market before the 350H, but it was the console that I personally covered last of all three. This came in a smaller package and followed a different design than the other 3.5-inch devices. The unit ditched the extra joystick from the RG350 and went with a more traditional button layout and servicing options while maintaining all of the things that made the other two consoles great. But as you'll see in the next sections of this video, there's a lot more at play for each of these devices than what you can see on the surface. Let's quickly talk about the profiles of these units. As you can see, the 350H is slightly bigger than the RG350, with the PlayGo easily taking the slot of the most compact handheld in this lineup. If we take a top-down view of these units, you can really see the differences in the overall packages of these devices. Both the PlayGo and the 350H are easily pocketable due to their low-profile joysticks. In terms of weight, all of these devices pretty much feel the same in the hand, even though their weights are different. In terms of heat output, I haven't really felt this unit get hot at all, but I would say that it maintains a cooler temperature much easier than the RG350 does. The same thing could be said about the 350H. Even with the overclock set to the highest level, I didn't really notice any extra heat output, and that's probably due to how far the CPU is from the back plate of the device. I've already talked a lot about the controls on the 350H, but to recap, my only gripe with this device is the strange placement of these two joysticks. I don't really mind that the joystick is above the D-pad, but I would prefer them to be flipped like they are on a PlayStation controller. That being said, I never did get used to the way that the joystick felt on the right side of the device near the A-B-X-Y keys. I have seen some mods that make this much smaller using 3DS sticks, or others that just simply close the hole, and I do think that a small change like this easily makes this the best overall handheld out there. Your external SD card is on the outside of the device, but this unit unfortunately has the most annoying internal card placement out of any of these devices, which makes the overall serviceability not as good as it is on the other two. This unit easily has my favorite shoulder keys right now, even though they are a tad clicky. We also have dual USB-C, which really hasn't seen much use as of late, and an HDMI out port that still hasn't been implemented even after all of this time. I really thought that this would have been done by now, and it's honestly a shame because that's a feature that none of these other devices are even attempting to implement, and it would have made this really awesome. The buttons are really sturdy, and I really have started to measure the quality of other consoles on whether or not they have better input than this device. Unfortunately with this, you will have to deal with a rather ugly logo on the front of the device, and I really wish that this thing shipped with nothing in this space at all. This type of branding should really be outlawed in products like this. They serve absolutely no purpose, especially since the back of the device is already branded with the same logo. It's not like people are going to see you with this out on the street and be like, "Oh damn, that dude's rocking the new Anbernic." It means absolutely nothing and it looks ugly. The 350H is more of a minimalistic design, and I really like the overall feel of this the best because of the way it just fits in your hand, and I think if you want a device with a screen size this small and you have bigger hands, this is the best console for you. For longer play periods, this is my go-to console for the simple fact that it just feels good. You do get a better D-pad and joystick placement on this, and it's a low-profile stick that will easily fit in your pocket. This joystick unfortunately doesn't come with a rubber cap, but I have seen people mod first-party sticks on this console without any issues. You will have a mono speaker on this unit, which is unfortunate, but I'd go out on a limb and say that this speaker is probably close to tying for the best sound out of any of these devices. That means if you're going to play a game that requires those keys, you are going to need to use the analog stick instead. Now, I've already covered this in another video, and there are instances where even mapping the shoulder keys to this joystick still doesn't work out that well. In the case of Twisted Metal, since you need to use the D-pad to drive, you really can't use the joystick to fire at the same time. That being said, you can obviously always mod this since L2 and R2 are implemented on the board. All you need is some switches and some wires and a soldering iron and you're good to go. If you're playing a game that doesn't need to use those buttons that frequently, you should be able to use this remapping option with no problem. Unfortunately, this is the only unit in the bunch that doesn't come with dedicated volume keys, but you can obviously change the volume levels in the same way that you change brightness levels on every console here. The best part of this has to be the fact that the front face isn't branded at all. You do have a brand on the back plate, but I'm pretty sure you could remove that if you really wanted to, and I really do think that there's a market out there for unbranded retro handheld devices. This is also one of the easiest consoles to service. All you need to do is pop off the back plate and you have access to both the battery and the internal SD card without a screwdriver. That leaves us with the PlayGo, and this is quickly becoming my best pickup console. In terms of just gifting and giftability, I think there's something to be said about a system that is so simple to use. This is the console that I would personally gift to someone else out of all three of these since it has the best mix of everything here. It has a really minimalistic design, which is something that I love. We do have the PlayGo logo on the front, and it is a little big, but to their credit, at least they match the aesthetic of the logo to the other aspects of this device. It's not using the same stupid orange logo for every color combination of the device on the market. It cleanly matches the other printed words on the front of the device, which is very pleasing. Now, the best part of this has to be the fact that you can easily access both of your SD cards right on the bottom of the device. That means you will never need to open this thing up to get past a battery. But speaking of battery, the battery that was used in this is a standard Xiaomi battery. That means you can easily pick up extra batteries for cheap. You can charge your extra one and keep it with you if you have a long trip. You will essentially have half a day of playing time in a super small package, which is something that you really can't do with the other two devices. We do have dual shoulder buttons, and they are decent, being almost comparable to the ones on the RG350. This device also has dedicated volume keys and a USB Type-C port. This is the smallest console out of the bunch, but my hands really had no problem holding this device. That being said, the 350H really holds better if I had to pick one as the best. This is my top choice for pickup gaming because I just love the control scheme on this thing the most, since I don't really play any games that require dual joysticks. I do want to mention that you can potentially get a unit that has a D-pad which will require a harder press in one direction, but I have already shown how to easily fix that in another one of my videos. This device is also rocking a fully black aesthetic, which I really like. You also have 3 essential keys right on the bottom of the screen, which makes them easier to use. I don't really like moving my thumb up and to the left like I do on the RG350, which is why I tend to like the layout of this and the 350H more, since all you have to do is move your thumb down. Finally, the PlayGo does come with a mono speaker, but this thing will have no problem blowing out your eardrums if you decide to pump it to max volume, so don't let its small size fool you. I don't think that not having stereo speakers is enough of a reason for you not to get this or the 350H. You really need to take the entire console as a total package, since it is entirely possible to have better audio quality from a mono speaker than it is from a stereo one. The next part of this is going to be a little technical, but I will try to sum it up as easily as possible. As it currently stands, the RG350 has had the most independent development done out of all of these consoles so far, and that's largely because of how open the manufacturer of this device was with the firmware and kernel. This allows for better customization and development from skilled people that work on these devices. The PlayGo uses the exact same CPU chip as the RG350, so almost everything is transferable between those two devices except for things that were specifically implemented just for the RG350. A simple example of this would be the second analog stick support in PS1. Now, the developers of the PlayGo haven't said anything publicly about releasing their kernel, but they very well may end up doing so. As it currently stands, you can transfer around 95% of everything that's gone into the RG350 into your PlayGo. The 350H is an entirely different animal. That device is actually not open source at this moment since all of the firmware updates come directly from the developer. This was largely done to combat cloning in China, so it may be too early to tell which direction this will go in the future. I do want to say that there are a few emulators like SNES that do run better on the RG350 and PlayGo for what that's worth. In the following section, I want to talk about the IPS panels of these three devices. I've already commented numerous times about how good this screen is on the 350H, and I really think that that comment has held up over time. There was a time when there was a clear loser in this regard, but the newest board revision that went into the PlayGo really leveled the playing field between it and the RG350. As it currently stands, you're going to get really good screen performance from both the RG350 and the PlayGo with accurate color temperatures and vivid displays. But you will get higher picture quality out of the 350H and a much brighter screen. The footage that you're seeing on screen now has only been balanced for the RG and the PG, so the highlight values on the 350H may look a little blown out, but you will have to take my word for it here that it is unquestionably the best screen in the bunch. I will also comment that there may be some aliasing in this video, which is really unavoidable at this point. I'm filming this video in 4K, which helps to some degree, but it's going to be present here and there no matter what. The final thing that I need to cover before closing out this video is CPU performance, and to do that, we are going to have to go all the way to the most demanding PS1 title out there to show you just how powerful the 350H is. Now, with Bloody Boar 2 running on both of these systems, without frameskip enabled, you can see that the CPU utilization is completely maxed out, and we are really failing to hit that frame cap by a large margin. The game is super laggy on both of these devices, and it's still really unplayable even with frameskip enabled. If we move over to the 350H at stock CPU settings, we can see that we still have a maxed out CPU, but our FPS is much higher. Now, this is only with the base frequency of 1.5 GHz, but with some quick overclock, we can get to 1.9 GHz, and you can really see how well this runs. You can get this title to run at almost 60 FPS with the CPU utilization maxed out. I do want to reiterate here that this is an isolated example because the other two devices can honestly run 99% of the PS1 library without any issues. But this is one of the best ways for me to show the difference in sheer power between all of these devices. In closing, I don't think there's really a wrong choice to be made with any of these handhelds, as there's clearly something for almost anyone's taste. We were honestly very lucky to have a fourth quarter of this year with so many good consoles, which can't be understated, since that's something that was never true before this year. As it currently stands, the PlayGo is currently the cheapest device in this lot with a price tag of $60, followed by the 350H at $70 and the RG350 King at $85. You can pick up any of these in the affiliate links below. If you buy anything from those links, you will be directly supporting this channel and these reviews. My name is Taki, and I've been your host on this review. If you like what you saw here and you want to support the channel, please consider dropping a like below and subscribe for future videos. I'll catch you here next time with another review. Now go out and enjoy the holidays. Taki out.